많이
모닝 LPI.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another night or morning, wherever you guys are in the world, of the SSL Challenge. My name is Rapid. With me is Brendan Valdez, and today we're seeing life through a whole new perspective.
Oh, seriously. I posted on Twitter that I got a haircut and I removed this thing from my head, and actually that's the way it feels. Because
yeah.
I know you may feel similarly, but now it's gotten a little bit hotter here in Seoul, and now our heads can actually breathe, and we've lost a lot of hair.
We didn't coordinate this. We just randomly show up, and we both have haircuts. And the reason we switched sides is because apparently, I don't know, they just only cut one side of my head to look good and not the other. So I'm just gonna not turn my head from this exact position, so I don't look totally hideous on camera.
You just got to give the camera the side glance like this the whole time.
No,
like, hey,
I have all
hey guys, what's up?
I have all these people tweeting at me. There's like, Rapid, what does the other side of your head look like? Well, guys, tonight, never let it be said that I don't listen to community feedback.
I highly doubt that you actually got a lot of tweets like that.
Well, the only community feedback I've gotten is Elentos posting in every thread about me not saying yikes. So today I'm going to be substituting things like zoinks, garsh, and all sorts of other infinitely preferable expletives.
Gorsh. I like garsh. That's good.
Yeah. Well, we might see some goofy games tonight.
Well,
yeah. So we've got 3 best of 5s once again for you tonight. We have 5 weeks of this SSL second stage, and that means that every player, all of the 6 players, play each other once. They play themselves 0 times, Brendan.
Unfortunately. That would be fun to see TY play against himself.
Well, unless they just throw away the game, and then we get to say that they played themselves.
Yeah, that's already happened a bunch of times.
With the appropriate DJ Khaled meme in there, but yeah.
Like when Ryung went CC first against Classic. And
gets me every time.
Yeah.
That's what I like to call, never mind. No, that was going to be really bad. You guys got to trust my judgment on this one. If I choose not to say
we can imagine
that it's really bad.
I'm sure we can.
Okay.
Imagine, but
yeah. So I guess we should recap the games that we have coming up, which is actually the opposite of a recap because they haven't happened yet.
It's a pre-cap. Right? I mean,
what is a pre-cap?
It's what we're doing right now. So
we're going to recap these games for you guys.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, so coming up first, we've got Deer versus Riong. I think this is a series that could go either way, but I've seen a lot of mixed opinions. I personally would really like to see Ryung take a game just because I feel like he's got a lot of potential, but PVT is just not a matchup that he does very well in.
Exactly. I feel like it's like, did Ryung practice for TVP? Did he decide today, hey, I'm going to play a little bit less greedy against this Protoss that definitely likes to be aggressive in the matchup? I think that will probably dictate whether or not it gets to the mid-game, because honestly, here at SSL Challenge, we haven't seen much of Ryung's mid-game, so against Protoss, that is. So I'd like to see it get there, and then decide from there. But from the outset, because honestly I don't have that much confidence that'll happen, I'll say that Deer's going to take it, but it'll be close, maybe 3-1, 3-2.
Yeah, I saw a lot of 3-1s. I think Illegal Act predicted a 3-1 for our first series. But there is a lot on the line here today. Either TY or I think it was Hero. Yeah, either TY or Hero has the opportunity to make it out of their group tonight, and that would be with a 3-0 score. Of course, if you win over half of your games and there are 2 players who have lost over half of their games, well, then you're going to go on to the next round. So the matches, like we just said, we pre-capped rather, Deer versus Ryung. But coming up next, after that, it's going to be Byun versus TY. I think that should be one of the best matches of tonight.
Yeah, I think that's going to be the best one, hands down. TY versus Byun, 2 fantastic Terrans going head-to-head. Hero versus Classic will be fun too. And I would have to give that one to Hero. I mean, that guy's been looking on fire. He's the one guy in this group that I've been like, and even TY too. TY, he had that weird start in the first stage, I think we're calling it. But after that, he kind of smoothed things out. But Hero to me is the guy who's been consistent the entire way through an SSL Challenge. I think he's going to win his games tonight against Classic. I think he's the first guy in this whole SSL Challenge that's like, I deserve to be an SSL Premier, and
Oh,
he's
definitely.
making a big case for himself.
Yeah, Hero also in GSL is just also looking phenomenal. I would say that you definitely want to stick around for the last batch, even though it's PvP and maybe you don't like mirror matches. Classic has been dominating with this unique style of air toss. He just plays it better than every other Protoss player. He bopped stats with it in GSL. He came out last week, and even though he split a close series with Deer, he still just looked heads and tails better in that particular. Is that not the phrase?
Heads and tails.
head over heel. No,
heads above.
Heads above.
Yeah. There's
like,
a lot.
There's
a
like
lot
8
of different
head phrases. How
Yeah,
do you remember? Oh
it's
my
true.
god!
You gotta
all
keep
right.
your head in the game, Rapid, please.
Indeed, I do.
I know it's late, but get your head in the
Thanks
game.
for the advice,
okay.
Brennan. I was
That's what I'm here
homeschooled, so I
for.
never got to go to the High School Musical, but I still know how to keep my head in the game. So.
I can't believe you actually know the name of that song. It's weird that I know the name too, enough to
Know the name
be
of
surprised
lots of those
by the
songs,
fact
man.
that you know the name of that song.
I was just like, I wonder what it's like to go to public school. I'll just watch this musical, and that's how I learned, guys.
Pretty much.
All right, well, we are about to jump into our first game of the night, guys. It's going to start out with this guy. It's Deer, and he is kind of struggling in the SSL Challenge Stage 2. He has managed to pick up a few wins, but he has yet to win a set score.
Yeah, rough spot to be in. And as you were saying before, you have to go 3-2 to guarantee that you make top 4, which does, of course, guarantee that you make it at least into the fast lane and that you do have a chance to make it on to SSL Premier. But he's got to win a lot of games against a lot of good players, and so does this guy.
Well, I mean, when you pit the 2 lower players in the group against each other, one of them does in fact have to win, Brendan. It's a statistically guaranteed occurrence. So, neither of these players have won a set score or won a match score. I said set score before, just yet. So one of them will take this win here tonight. I'm excited to see exactly who it will be as we get into our first game, our first best of 5.
Yeah, both these guys look awake. They look ready to go. And let's take a look at the maps that we do have lined up here. Belshire Vestige to start, Newkirk Precinct, Abyssal Reef, Daybreak, and Frost. So just one 4-player map in Frost at the end of this, but lots of 2-player maps before we get there.
Lots of 2-player maps, and for this, for SSL, we'll be sticking with this current map pool, but I know a lot of other tournaments are switching over to the modernized ladder pool. Those are actually really important, really exciting to watch, especially for you guys that are laddering out there right now. So this is going to be kind of, increasingly outdated, but these are just maps that the players are very, very familiar with. And for the competitive integrity of our tournament, we're just going to stick to these for a while. So lots and lots of 2-player maps out there. I watched my first competitive game on Sequencer today, and I'm just kind of glad we're sticking to these maps for a while.
For now.
That's all I got to say. Yeah, no blood boil in our map pool just yet. So, so we're about to get into our first game of the night. Who do you think is going to take this one, Brennan?
Well, it is on. I just saw the maps. It's Belshire Vestige.
Belshire, yeah.
I don't know. I'm feeling Deer is going to come out here strong and be pretty aggressive. Again, as I said, I think this series will definitely be somewhat decided on how greedy Ryung wants to play against this Protoss player. Especially when you're going up against a guy on the ropes. He'll do anything. This Protoss is going to literally do anything to get at him. So I want to see safe play out of this Terran. Not any CC first on a 2-player map.
Also build lots of stuff that kills adepts. Great advice there. So get out there on Twitter, social media, tag your mom on Facebook, let her know that the SSL Challenge is on tonight. We've got 3 great series, and we're going to start things off with Deer versus Riong. But first, we got to jam out a little bit.
As is the way of SSL Challenge. Okay, looks like the game is started. Let's jump into it right away.
All right, we are about to fly into our first game of this Best of 5 series. Our Protoss player in the yellow on the bottom right-hand side of the map is Deer.
And his opponent up in the top left, the blue Terran, it is Riong.
Okay, all right, we've introduced the players, Brendan. Step 1 is done. We've made it this far. Both of our players are a little bit beaten and battered. Not like chicken, just like somebody who's taken a few hits. I just had chicken earlier today. It's kind of on my mind. I had chicken on pizza. It was like fried chicken on pizza. It was pretty great.
Sounds really good. I had an equally unhealthy meal. I went to Shake Shack, picked myself up a double Smoke Shack burger and
I had one of those last
milkshake
week.
On the side.
Oh boy,
with the cheese fries. Yeah, I didn't hold back, but
yikes!
It was nice. Good thing. Both of our stomachs are full before the cast here. Lots of energy.
Okay, yeah. If we get feedback right now, man, we are dead.
That's a big problem.
Okay, well, interesting to see a Nexus here for Deer. I would have definitely expected a little bit more early focus on pressure. It seemed like he has wanted to do that. However, I'm guessing he's going to go for two-base depth timing. We've seen him do that quite a bit, not only this tournament, but also just in GSL. Didn't work out quite so well for him there. But either way, Probe gets pushed back, base down for both players, and a relatively standard start to our game.
Yeah, the other thing that I would expect from Deer, if you're going up against a player like Ryung, who's not really going to be too aggressive, but will just play a pretty standard laid-back beginning of the game, it's like either you go for something like a proxy Oracle, you go like super aggressive from the get-go, or you just go for a very nice economical build with the Gate Nexus core, and that's exactly what we see here. Ryung will get the Scout, and this is pretty common. See the follow-up of the Stargate. It's a later Stargate, but still can put a lot of pressure on the map and get you that map control that allows you to take that third base.
Yeah. Turns out when Terran has nothing that shoots up, building air units is probably pretty good.
That CC wasn't building. I guess this probe actually came back and forced an SCV off the line, or off the CC, so...
Yeah, I don't think any of those SCVs died. If I missed an SCV dying, then I am obviously just, completely blind. But I think it's kind of interesting to see a second CC starting off this early. And I know when we were talking earlier, Brendan, you were saying all Ryung has to do is not go CC first. And, he didn't go CC first, but he's building 3 command centers extremely quickly. And so he won't even be able to finish one of them, and now has only 2 Marines against 1 Adept. And I think we all know how that works.
We were seeing some Terran players last week, if I remember correctly, just try to go for this build, or maybe it was in Premier, but it's kind of an interesting response to what Protosses are doing, where you can make this third command center pretty fast, and it's not harassable because it's in the main, of course, which keeps everything together, which makes defending against Oracles, Adepts, stuff like this a lot easier. But at the same time, you have that third CC, and you did go for a pretty greedy build at that. Yeah, it's just that Protosses, they put on pressure with the Oracle and the Adepts, but they don't go all in as much nowadays. So I like the build.
Right, and even with only 1 Adept back here in the base, Probe Pull will make that a pretty good trade for Ryung. And yeah, even if you do take a lot of worker harass from things like Oracles or early drops in your base, if you have that third command center, you can just reproduce workers so effectively. Okay, yep, there we go. Gonna take out that Reaper. Got 3 kills though, so that's actually pretty impressive for an early Reaper.
Also got a nice scout on the Oracles. It looks like this Oracle has 4 kills somehow, even though we didn't see any SCVs come up on the death screen on the left side, unless I missed that one. But 4 kills nonetheless.
Maybe it got them all perfectly spaced away so that it didn't add up the SCV
one at a
kills.
time.
Well played. All right, that's the Shill Oracle. It flies right over the Jin Air logo so that everybody knows about the wonderful company sponsoring this league. Big fan. And starting to pool a couple of Oracles, not losing either one of those. And, Oracles were originally kind of an only early game unit, unless you wanted to go, the Haz style where you just build 1,000,000 of them and kill everything. But I think recently they've just, it gotten to be better and better when it comes to late game tagging armies, putting down really annoying stasis wards, like if you're versus a Zerg player or something like that. But it's always good to keep them around. They do definitely carry on their utility.
Good controlled Oracle harass here by Deer. You can see he's not trying to get super aggressive with them. He wants to keep them alive, keep that pressure on, but at the same time get some nice kills. Picked up, I think, another 5 or so, 2 SCVs and 3 Marines. And you can see that Deer, he's kind of just doing the Protoss thing, the early third base, and all the gateways popping up with all the other tech coming up here. I just wonder what kind of timing Ryung will want to hit.
Yeah.
If he is going to hit that timing, you can see he's adding in a lot of barracks pretty fast here.
Ooh, but nice delay on that, sending in, once again, very well-controlled Oracles. You're just dancing in and out of range of that missile turret. delaying those barracks a little bit more.
Yeah, look at the supply already. Deer is up about 20, even this early on in the game, and a lot of that is because of the damage these Oracles have done. Already 8 kills on this one. A pretty high number on the other one, I think around 5 or 6.
Yeah, and right as Ryung is going up to more barracks, Deer is also hitting that gateway explosion and just starting to build a ton of adepts and sentries, and I think sending these across the map will be his first big play. His third base for Ryung is not going to be a happy place to be here in the near future.
Yeah, look at the composition as well of Ryung's army. It's mainly just Marine Marauder. Haven't seen too many medevacs, and I haven't seen a single Widow Mine, so there's a chance here that Deer, with the amount of gateways that he has exploded onto right now, he might just be able to shade on top of the army.
Well, yeah,
look at how many adepts
oh
there
my
are.
god, no, Ryung way overextending, getting force fielded, half his army going down the shade through the force fields, and Ryung, oh my god, there's 12 Marines at a time, or total on the map right now, versus almost just that many adepts, which worked pretty well in the 1 versus 1. And, ooh, man, pressuring this front. There's only 2 medevacs out, and as these forward supply depots start to go down, it's going to make it even more difficult for Ryung to reinforce his army.
This is pretty insane. There are more adepts right now than there are bio units on the ground, and Deary is just going to push on through, and this is going to be game 1. Just absolutely rolling him. And game number 1 is Deer.
Damn.
Able to take the quick win.
Wow. Yeah, and I think that's exactly what we said going into this. Deer makes lots of adepts. And useful talent toy have, guys. And Riong did the same thing that we saw him do in previous weeks of the SSL Challenge, where he goes way too economically greedy early on and just dies to a big adept push.
Yeah, and I think part of what went wrong too, as I was mentioning before, is like if you are going to go for the CC in your main and keep everything compact, you can't lose that much stuff to 2 Oracles, right? You have to have a little bit better defense. I don't think he was splitting his Marines well enough. There were too many units that were just picked off for free, essentially. Both Oracles lived the entire game and got so many kills while Deer was just exploding and Ryung was essentially doing nothing, and he just got way too far ahead.
Able to just dash and dive in there, taking out a lot of SCVs early on, and eventually the pain in the main drove Ryung insane in his brain.
Pretty much. I mean,
that's my expert analysis of the game.
Yeah, he felt it up front too. Just all the adepts pushing their way through that one small hole.
I hate when I feel
the front
pressure up front through the one small hole, Brendan.
It was pretty rough.
That's going to send it into game number 2, which will hopefully be a little bit less rough for Ryung. But if Deer is able to take this one, that'll put him on match point, well on his way to winning his first series, Stage 2 of the SSL Challenge. So let's go ahead and get into game number 2. But first, and here we go, on to our second map, our yellow Protoss player, Fly Better Flying, in the bottom right-hand corner of our map. This is Deer.
Good timing. That was nice. You're on point tonight.
I practice these things.
Down here, his opponents having a lot of trouble in game number 1. It is Ryung,
who hopefully this game will build more Marines than there are adepts.
Yeah, it's been a rough tournament for Ryung so far. He has snuck on through to stage 2, but has not won a single match so far. He's only picked up 2 map wins in his 2 series that he's played, losing them both 1-3, I do believe, unless one of them was 2-3 and the other one was 0-3. I suppose that's possible, but either way, I mean, it's very hard when a bunch of Protosses do make it through like this and your TVP matchup is not looking great right now. So has to face off against Classic, Hero, and even Deer, who's looking pretty nice.
I don't know, I mean, this is where you kind of see what's coming ahead of time. It's just not a big mystery. I mean, if we as commentators know what the build for the players is going to be, chances are the players also know what the build is going to be, just because they do all of this research and really hammer out these builds. And so for Ryung, I feel like he knows what's coming his way, and if he didn't in game 1, he certainly knows here in game number 2. Also, Newkirk, a great opportunity to put down a lot of like crazy proxy locations, either at like the northern 3rd or northern 4th bases. You can put a pylon around those mineral lines. It's very difficult to scout. You can do all sorts of crazy shenanigans, and I I mean, once again, Deer going for an early command center instead of just really bunkering down early on.
Yeah, I would love to see Ryung follow this up with something like a Widowmine drop. You know, I feel like he has to put the pressure onto Deer. I know it's hard nowadays, especially in TVP, where now the Terrans have kind of become the defenders, but I mean, just look at TY's games last week. He just made non-stop Widowmines and killed the guy.
I've never actually seen that before.
Kind of possible.
Just insanity Window Mines, which are, you know, super great defensively. It's like, you know, a lot of Zerg started making defensive Banelings just to counter these Adept pushes, and it just works so well. Same kind of idea with Widow Mines. Just say, hey, you can't shade in here or all your stuff dies. And I think Ryung, it would probably behoove him a little bit to play that defensive style. You know, one thing that we could also see here, certainly not in this game, but maybe in our next one, Ryung was able to execute a proxy Ghost Rush very, very well in his first game in GSL. And I'm just saying, it worked really well. It wasn't actually the Ghost Rush that killed his opponent, but it still looked really cool. Every time I watch Ryung, I hope for one of those things. He delivered once. I don't think he'll deliver again, but it's interesting to see him coming out with this Hellion style. Hellion's really kind of phased out of the meta for a while. Now they're starting to trickle back in. I've only seen it work well maybe once. It is a very control-specific matchup, so we'll see how good Ryung's Hellion control is.
I think it's good. I think he's read Deer's build pretty nicely, and on Newkirk it's very easy to just roll on up the natural ramp. The Hellions are in the natural right now as I say that, and there's no defense, and I love this build here from Ryung, really trying to get into the base of Deer early on. The Oracle is going to be forced to play defensively and chase these Hellions down. Yeah. He's already got 3 probe kills and a full scout of Deer's base.
Yeah, that was pretty much just a scouting Hellion. We'll see the Stargate, and yeah, great job there by Ryung. Effective scouting, effective harassment, and already has that Widow Mine there for defense.
He's got the Widow Mine. He made a Viking first. He's making a second Widow Mine. Yeah, and things look a lot different from
most
game
notably,
one,
there's no third command center already, Brendan. So that's what we really like to see. Just making sure that he's going to be in a good place here.
You know, the build that a lot of Terrans like to do nowadays against Protoss is just go 2 base for a really long time and then just make this massive push and hit that third base really, really hard of the Protoss when he's like trying to hold you off with just Oracles and Blink Stalkers. And Newkirk is a great map to do this on because from natural to the third of the Protoss, it's not that far, and you could definitely get over there with a really strong timing. And I wouldn't be surprised to see Ryung try to do that here on this map.
Great positioning on the Marines and Vikings. It's like, well, if you're not going to hit my Widow Mine, this is where I need to put my units to repel this early Air Force. And Deer continuing to make these Phoenixes, committing to that early on. You know, I haven't seen Skytoss too much versus Terran lately. Usually it's just a lot of Adept Phoenix. Maybe I'll add the Adepts in here in just a little bit, but taking that Widow Mine hit, will push Deer back out.
And I let out a little bit of a sigh as I saw Ryung put on, or throw down, I believe is the real term, as that's what we do. Like to say, throw down a third CC in his main. I did want to see him hit that 2 base timing. It is only 400 minerals, but it definitely will give the Protoss opportunity to get another big warp in off of 8 gateways on his third base, which is, once you get 8 more Adepts, that's exactly what you need to hold off a strong push like that. So, I mean, he's giving Deer more room once again, and that might turn out to be a problem. I think there is a chance, though, on this map that Deer might not just be able to run over and kill him this time. So we might be seeing a longer one here.
I mean, with a third Nexus already up and just about to start running, no gas is taken on it just yet. I mean, Deer is just... you kind of enter this position as a Terran player like you do against Zerg, where if you just never do anything against them, they'll just have infinity stuff and roll over you. And for Protoss, you know, everybody talks all those memes about the Protoss death ball. I mean, it kind of gets there if you just never do anything against them. So, I mean, sure, Ryung's going to be macroing up in his base, getting his bio upgrades, just now finishing, starting that armor. But here comes the first little tiny bit of a push. Phoenix Adept will be the unit composition for Deer. Let's see if Ryung's ready for it.
Well, I like how he's been reactoring out a bunch of Widow Mines. I think that's, again, we were talking about this in Game 1, that'll definitely be one a unit that he can use to counter this kind of style, but no ghosts in sight. We don't see any Ghost Academy just yet. He might choose to add that a little bit later on, as Deer's army isn't too massive just yet. You can see what Deer's trying to do here. He actually doesn't want to take a straight-up fight. He wants to actually play a little bit guerrilla style. At the same time, Ryung now coming in with a Widowmine drop. Can and made in perfect time, but this will get one shot off.
Whoa, big shot and a shade into that natural. Lots of SCVs going down, 14 dead already.
Uh-oh, no micro here on these Phoenixes. Taking a bunch of shield damage.
Dude, where's my Phoenix?
A little bit anticlimactic there, but still.
The Reese just sit there and they shoot at the Phoenixes and none of them die. I'm like, well, those are basically paper airplanes. How are none of them dying yet?
Phoenixes are surprisingly strong. Something you realize.
A sentence I've never heard anyone say before.
You heard it tonight.
I did, man. Tonight is a night for a lot of firsts. Actually, a sizable number of all of those adepts getting taken out. They're finally dealt with, but at what cost, Brennan? If you just look at the worker count, 42 to almost 70.
But still a really strong push coming out of Deer, or rather out of Riong, as Deer is trying to transition into double Robo Colossi. This definitely could be a nice timing for Riong here. He's got 20 more army supply.
Got a bunch of Widow Mines there, as well as, avoiding really this air army. Deer sent that over to harass right as Riong is pushing in.
Oh, here we go. Widowmine's in a fantastic spot here. Can actually unburrow
nice
them.
Unburrow. Journey to Unburrow. That's the new StarCraft expansion. All right. Yeah, a little bit indecisive here with the Adepts waiting for the air army to come down. Miss rallied Colossus. No. The saddest little Colossus, and big mine connects once again. Ryung in a great spot.
Looks like he may have just done it here. Just not enough stuff for the Protoss. More stuff from the Terran being rallied across, and this is that timing he was finally able to hit here.
Yeah, right before ground weapons were done there for Deer, and with more bio streaming across the map, that's it, GG.
Ryung with a very nice response there in game number 2. Really taking a step back after game 1. He's like, okay, I think I messed up. I'm gonna fix all of that stuff in the gap between just 2 games. So
in an alternate universe,
like what he did.
There's a reality where Ryung is never allowed to build a third Nexus or a third command center ever, and he just always wins against Adept Phoenix because he never overexpands early on. So perhaps we are getting closer to that reality, and at least it's good to see Ryung, recognizing what's going to be coming his way, adapting to it, and then dealing with it so well.
Yeah, I like how he switched into the Widowmines, even the Widowmine drops, just sprinkling them in there, not overdoing them, because if you lose a bunch of those Widowmines, your push is not going to be nearly as strong. And then Deer, just being a little bit greedy with the harass. He used all of his Phoenix energy at the third base trying to pick up stuff. He pushed in like
a bunch of adepts.
8 adepts into the natural. He killed a bunch of SCVs, but still 42 SCVs remained, and he killed none of Ryung's army, and Deer was transitioning again into double Robo Colossi. You can't really get away with all of that on Newkirk precincts,
walks that Colossi in and it dies.
Yeah, he didn't even get to use either of
them. You have that Colossi on the high ground. Maybe that's a totally different fight, but either way, it's tied up at 1-1, and that's going to make this essentially a best of 3 as we head into our third game, round 3, set 3 of our third day of the broadcast. Better flying onto our third map in the yellow. Once again, our Protoss player Deer.
And his opponent, the blue Terran, fixing things up. Just like an old broken down car, he's become new and shiny again. It is Ryung. And yeah, I mean, weird kind of thing I said about the car, but like I really feel like he I couldn't think of the actual official word for that, but I really feel like he did fix up a ton of stuff going from game 1 into game 2. Maybe he just grabbed his mental together rapid and just put it all together. And
you gotta
really
grab that mental, man.
He looked like a totally different Terran there in game 2, whereas Deer, I feel like maybe just a bit of overconfidence. And I feel like, at the beginning of this, I did predict Deer to take this series. I think Deer, after that game 2, will be able to take a step back and say, hey, I need to be a little bit more careful, just take things a little bit slower. Because if it does get to that later game, I still feel like Deer will have the advantage, but we haven't really seen either of these games get there just yet. And Abyssal Reef is going to allow should allow, at least, us to get to that later game. A very defensively played two-player map.
I mean, I hope so. And yeah, exactly like you said, natural, very easy to take just because there's that narrow choke point protected by destructible rocks. And you should get to the later game. Now, I don't know. Every time I say that, every time I look at these maps, like, you know, I look at maps like Frost or Whirlwind, and I'm like, you know, these are bigger maps. Sometimes we have macro games here, and it's just like a proxy, whatever, and it kills the guy. And I'm just like, okay, well, thank you very much for making the caster curse truer once again. But at least this time, we're probably not going to see that triple command center start for Ryung. And maybe Deer realizes, hey, I should probably not throw away all my army harassing and then have nothing back in home to defend.
Yeah, I'm just curious to see if Deer's going to do the same build he's done twice in a row, and that is the build that he is going to do. Gateway Nexus Core into Stargate Oracle. In Game 2, he did go into Phoenixes, whereas in Game 1, he just went second Oracle and much faster, you know, Twilight Tech, Robotech, and lots more gates a little bit faster, so...
Okay, well, right as I was talking about the caster curse there, the third command center.
Yeah, I was going to say, don't speak too fast. There's still a chance.
Right after I got done saying, don't speak too fast. All right, well, neither of us apparently. Speaking too fast is always something that, you know, I've had a little bit of a problem with. If it's not my actual speaking, it's my name, both contributing to that. So, yeah, I'll watch out for that. I'll also never make another prediction again because apparently I'm just not allowed to do that. Leave all those good predictions up to, like, Todd and Rotterdam. I'm pretty on point with those.
Yeah.
All right, well, coming up with an engineering bay as well. This is going to be the most passive macro game for Ryung, kind of a return to that Game 1 form.
Yeah, I like this tech in from Ryung. It's necessary when you are going for the triple CC anyway, but just reading the fact that Deer has gone Stargate first twice in a row, and he sees the Oracle here too, he's like, yeah, okay, this is the easiest building to put down and be safe with. He can drop down a couple of missile turrets. He can get that early +1, make his follow-up push a lot stronger.
I really like these pre-missile turrets. I see a lot of Terrans try to just defend with either early Marines or they just get maybe one. And I think maybe that's what Ryung's going to do, just get one missile turret. But I just really love the Marines, or the Terrans, who also make Marines, who build, you know, enough missile turrets. Maybe go for 3 early on and then just none of the harass works ever. But it is a little bit of a commitment.
Yeah, definitely is. This first Oracle trying to come on in here and get some damage. I didn't see a second Oracle on the production tab. And you could see, you were talking about skimping turrets. Well, Ryung did skimp on one in the main and decides to put one down a little bit late here, just for safety. You can see back at home here for Deer, he actually has made that second Oracle. And he did get an extremely fast third base, and we'll be going with that same old tried and tested 8 gateway. Let's get adepts with resonating glaives and try to stomp this guy.
This looks exactly like game number 1, Brendan, and I feel like, especially after having just seen that, Ryung has to know what's in store. Now, unfortunately, a little bit of a supply blockerino there for Deer for a while might put a hiccup in his macro, but we still haven't seen that big gateway explosion. So this is just the initial early push designed to put on a little bit of pressure and, you know, make sure that he is aware of what Ryung is going for.
This is kind of a cheeky SCV scout at 5 minutes into the game. It's a good scout on exactly what the timing was of that third. And here we go again. Deer is just slipping on in 6 more SCVs.
Look at this control, and he's going to be shaving off a few Marines that are clumped off from the rest of the group. Again, great control, finding these tiny little holes in Ryung's base defense.
You weren't joking about this game looking exactly like game number 1. This is basically the exact same thing.
He sees it coming this time. He's like, wait a second. I know what's about to happen. And here we go, Brendan. What is that? 8 gateways, just like you called it.
Yeah. He is down pretty much the same supply. And, I mean, this is just getting so much damage. Generally, okay, it looks like, oh man, this is actually going to get away. He keeps both of his Oracles alive with very, very low health too. A total of maybe 17 SCV kills. It's like unbelievable.
It's just ridiculous. And this was what I was talking about. You just put the extra effort in to add another turret. How much does losing all those SCVs cost you? The answer, Brendan, is a bunch. That's my calculation. I done did it. A lot. /r/ they did the math.
Oh, interesting kind of mix-up here from Deer, though. He's not looking to hit a big timing this time. He doesn't want to absolutely roll Ryung on this map. It's definitely a little bit harder when you compare it to Belcher Vestige.
More SCV kills? Okay.
He is going into double Robo Colossi as a follow-up, and he's just looking to harass with the Adepts this time, so...
Okay, he's not throwing them away, and I think at least Deer is learning his lessons. Like, okay, what works? Building Adepts, not having my units die. Cool. And he's hitting both of those. Now, he's also going to be transitioning here into Colossi. I think probably he could just make Adepts and win with that. Instead, now he's just losing everything. I don't know, man. He is going to get into the main with a Warp Prism, so this could be the beginning of the end with a big Warp in canceled.
Oh, yeah.
He did it within range of a missile turret.
He went into phase mode right on top of that turret, and that's not really going to work. So there was a really nice timing here for Deer to do a ton of damage, and he may still be able to, but his mechanics and his execution here have really not been on point.
Everything going to die here in this third base. Just put up a little bit too early. No bunkers, no mines, nothing set up. And Deer once again finding a perfect hole in Ryung's defenses to get this harass.
That third base, still not mining. And even though Deer, he's really had some trouble with his control, and he loses a bunch of Adepts here for not that much damage, he still is in a pretty good spot, especially with the fourth base coming up and double Robo Colossi on the way with the lands finishing up.
I feel like as soon as you recognize your opponent is going into mass bio, you just start pumping these Colossi, and as long as the Terran doesn't hit you at that timing right before your Colossi finish, like happened in game number 2, you're just gonna get a massive stuff that counters their stuff, and then your stuff wins. That's my, expert analysis. Kind of interesting to see such a huge gateway swell to put on pressure being used now defensively after, this happens. Basically all the harassment getting shut down.
Yeah, all those Adepts will be pushed back. And you see he is transferring his probes over to the fourth base. Going to be adding in a bunch of Stalkers with Blink 2 to deal with what he thinks is a Viking explosion coming, but actually Ryung has just been sticking on only Liberators.
Yeah, and he's going to get that Liberator range here in just a minute. Well, more than a minute. If he could get that in just a minute, then every Terran would win every game. So we're going to avoid that and have that postponed just a little bit as soon as that Fusion Core finishes up. But it might not be in time, as Deer looks to be pushing out with what is, I believe, 4 Colossi?
Yeah.
I think it's 4 or 6. Maybe the next 2, going to be Disruptors instead.
He's pushing in here just as Riong actually is going for a 4 medevac drop up towards the north side of the map here.
This is a difficult spot to push through, but thanks to that high ground vision, that will allow Deer to blink in and take out at least one of those Liberators. But, I mean, range should be on the way, and even if not, there's more Liberators here. But, oh man, a blink in, but those are a lot of medevacs.
It's going to be a bunch of mines set up here on the top of the ramp, trying to get these Disruptor Balls to hit. A couple of them will be successful, but does he have enough other stuff outside of this Disruptors to deal with this 4 medevac drop?
Yeah, maybe you have needed to stagger those Disruptor shots, because he just used them both. No threat from those units. A big cancel on that Warp in the main. He's going to try to get him, but that one gets canceled too, and it unpowers all of his gateways.
You can see that Deer forced to bring everything back into the main, and this drop has done quite a bit of damage. Riong will even get away with 3 of these medevacs. Decides to drop the main with just one, or rather the third with just 1, do a bit more damage.
He's going to blink in with those Stalkers to pick off the medevac, but he's going to lose even more of those units. And even back in the main, he is still yet to power up his 5 gateways, which are powered by that birthday pylon.
Yeah. And you can see that Riong, with that drop, he bought himself so much time to get the Liberator range, to get a 4th base on the way. And by the time Deer actually sums up another attack, puts it together here to attack that 4th base, so many Liberators with the range will be in position to deal with this. He's even going to have 2-2 for his infantry. So Ryung just gave him himself a much better shot at holding off this attack. Liberator
range almost completed, Brendan, and that means that if this attack for Deer hits too late, he's going to be going into ranged Liberators, 2-2 bio, and an incredibly strong defensive position for Ryung.
Deer just now able to realize that Ryung has bought himself enough time to go for this, and it looks like he wants to try to split up the army of Ryung here. by sending him some shades at the same time as going for a drop towards the natural or the main, and in turn able to cancel that 4th base.
All right, so a little bit of a moral victory. Behind all of this, Deer will be going for Anion Pulse Crystals to upgrade his sphere. No, the Fleet Beacons for carriers that should be on the way momentarily.
Yeah, and this is kind of the game we were expecting out of Abyssal Reef, right? Where, you know, we saw very similar builds to start, but we do actually see this game go a lot longer just because it's much easier to defend. And now we're seeing Tempest on the way. It's going to be good, you know, to tag those Liberators and actually take them down from afar. You have your giant Protoss army underneath them to just protect them. And he kept both of those Oracles alive, so he doesn't have to remake them, so they'll just be on tagging duty of the Terran army.
Okay, well, I was saying carriers. Instead, no, it's not going to be carriers, Brendan. Guess who was wrong again? That's this guy.
Happens to the best of us. It's all good.
Well, the Tempest will be out, and I guess I should have probably seen that coming. What do you get versus ranged Liberators? Well, Tempests are a great choice. However, another thing that's a great choice is powering your buildings with more than just one pylon, and Deer has yet to really learn that lesson. Everything is gonna get powered again. Another, whoa, big disruption shot, almost hitting, but instead, nothing hits Brennan. You know what happens when instead of everything, you get nothing? Bad stuff. That's what happens, Brendan.
Well, he's going to try to take down this Dark Shrine, and because Deer isn't attacking with this entire army, he's actually...
Wait, he's not going to get the Dark Shrine, is he? He actually missed target fired there, and I think the Dark Shrine will actually live and stay alive. Deer with this massive army, but he can't push forward and do anything thanks to those ranged Liberators.
You can see the tags coming down here. Deer kind of desperately trying to get into position to hold off this attack. Ryung's response is to give him a free medevac as means of sacrifice, holding up the white flag, but really just trying to come back and defend here. Finally goes back into Viking production to deal with this big round of Tempest, and we are going Supreme late game. This is actually just 14 minutes in a Legacy of the Void game.
I was going to say, we kind of fast-forwarded a little bit, but you were right, Brendan. Abyssal Reef, very, very defensive game. And, you know, I feel like Deer's in a pretty decent spot. He needs to make sure to control his army outside of these liberation zones. Whoa, going to get several Stalkers picked off.
I love how you can just set up those Liberators on the cliffs of Abyssal Reef. Like, it's going to be hard to blink underneath that because all the bio can just sit safely on top of the cliff defending. So if you want to blink, you got to be sure it's the right move. Otherwise, you might just lose all your Stalkers.
Ooh. All right, so we are going to set up into huge siege lines. Wow, how did that DT get all the way in there? What a guy. So he's going to be in there killing off these SCVs, 5 down, and I think it was actually taken out. So that should be all that we see there. We need to actually group these Tempests up to keep from losing them. But yeah, it looks like we are going to go for big air army for Deer versus what looks like to be an even bigger ground army for Riong.
Oh boy, look at all those ghosts on the edge.
That's not where you want to put your ghosts. He is going to go back in for that triple drop, and this time there are more pylons powering these buildings, but they won't be doing that for long.
Yeah, he tries to overcharge here. He's a little bit slow on it. Actually, looked like there was an EMP on that, but not exactly sure. Throws down a bunch of overcharges, needs to warp in some stuff, but in the meantime is going for the big attack. Ryung looks like he just wants to give up his natural here. And here he comes, trying to defend his natural.
I mean, he's going to try, Brennan, but against all this stemmed bio, I mean, maybe that choke point's going to be a good defense, but he's going to have a hard time getting through it, and that just lets these Colossus do what Koreans call free dealing, and that just means they deal damage while not taking damage, and in general, Brendan, that's pretty good. Okay, wow, that was actually...
Oh boy.
Speaking of pretty good things...
I was about to say that Deer was having trouble with these drops. I was about to say it. Good thing I kept my mouth shut.
You're improving as a caster.
Just in time.
Somebody wants to make that Brendan Valdez caster improvement thread. That's going to be right up at the top. It's like, instead of saying the thing that was going to be wrong, he didn't say the thing that was wrong, and instead waited and said stuff that was right instead. Wow!
Yeah. But look at where we're at here in this game for Ryung. I mean, finally he gets this 4th base up, but look at how many minerals he has, or rather the lack of. He just has no bank at all, and he's really been struggling to make units in general, whereas Deer has this massive bank. He was easily able to take another base, and still has this really high-tech army that Ryung, at this point, I don't think he can match at all. I mean, now we have Storm with 4 High Templar coming on in as if he didn't have enough AoE.
Yeah, I read a really interesting balance article a while back talking about how StarCraft, managed these like tiers of units, talking about how as you get higher tech, you gain access to very powerful things like speed, range, and area of effect damage. That's what you're starting to see here come out for Deer. You've got lots of high-tech units that have lots of range, lots of area of effect damage, and the ability to, well, do that. Get the GGs out there. More GGs coming Deer's way, and that will put him up 2-1 in the series.
And it was so funny how he got to that position in that game, because if you guys remember, Deer, he was in a pretty good spot, did a lot of damage with his oracles, and then he kind of failed with the Adept Harass. But he was just, the way that that map worked, there was really no way for Ryung to pressure the extra bases that Deer had, or rather he was choosing not to. Like, he put in 3 drops with 4 medevacs, but he always went into the main, and all he ended up doing was killing a bunch of pylons, and, you know, I think he killed the Dark Shrine. Yeah, well, he wasn't really getting any economic damage done, whereas Deer continuously pressured Ryung's outer bases, and Ryung just got so far behind from there.
I think he actually might not have killed the Dark Shrine, but I actually thought those drops worked pretty well. When you can unpower just about everything that easily, maybe that's the opportunity he was looking for, but it just wasn't enough. He was never able to deal with Deer's massive army, which just kept on teching up and led him to victory. Well, neither of these players have been able to take a best-of-5 series in Stage 2 of the SSL Challenge, but one of them will walk away with the victory here today. Deer, 1 game away from doing just that.
Yeah, and the aforementioned player, it is Deer.
I was going to give that one over to you because I just said his name. But yeah, there he is.
There is that player.
Indeed, Brendan.
You can have this one.
All right, cool. His opponent in the blue as the Terran player is TES Gaming's Riong.
And Ryung's had enough. Yep. He says, F this, I can't beat Protoss.
Yeah.
I am going to try to do this cheese build, and I mean, Daybreak is a nice map to do this. There's a lot of places to hide these buildings on, and you do want to mix in a cheese once you do get into best of 5, best of 7 series, so you probably don't mind the build.
Yeah, you probably want to do it earlier on when you're not, you know, on match point, but hey, maybe this is the opportunity where Deer will just not expect this. Now, he's going to go for a relatively early scout after Gateway, and that's going to reveal that, wait a second, there's no barracks in Ryung's main.
Yeah, Deer's done this consistently every game, and I mean, this is the first game where it's going to offer him just heaps of information on exactly what his opponent is doing. I mean, you come in here, you get the scout, no barracks, double gas, you make a zealot, you try to find where the proxy is, and you try to shut it down early.
Well, it looks like he is pretty good. Oh, and he sees the SCV, scumbag SCV, giving a proxy away.
Yeah. He's trying to do his job and follow up that proxy building with the scout, but not quite working out. He is going to make that factory over here in the main. He just wanted to get this forward barracks to make the very early Reaper and get into the main of Deer pretty early on. But see, Deer already has the response. Going to even make a Stalker after this with the Mothership Core. Extreme safety out of him.
Yeah, a lot of different Protoss openings. I've seen a double Adept, double Stalker. This is 1 Zealot, 1 Stalker. So just getting a smattering of units in case this turns into crazier numbers of Reapers. That's the unit name I was thinking of. But it won't. It's just going to be pretty standard here. And I think for Ryung, he just really has to make sure he doesn't die early on or get a little bit too overzealous with his expansions.
You can see Deer, he's trying to come out here and get to that barracks, shut down any more units if they are being built, but you can see that Ryung actually put his barracks onto the high ground and is starting a starport up here as well. Oh my god,
okay, so this is mine time with Ryung here. He proxies the first time, then doesn't proxy the factory, so Deer is like, okay, well, maybe I don't have to deal with that. In fact, he's in the main and can see that factory with his Mothership Core, but he won't see the starport.
Well, this ship core here not able to get any kills. And you can see that Cyclone has locked on. He is going to go out into deep space here and survive, but Stalker out on the map, being very aggressive with that. You can see that Deer did follow up with a Stargate, which is kind of an interesting choice. You could tell, like, with Ryung's weird build, he won't have too much back at home.
Now, I'm just curious if this
except
one...
the Cyclones.
Yeah, if this one Stalker is going to go for a more exploratory trip. He's going to take out this Reaper, but then where does he go? If he goes up and sees these Cloak Banshees coming, then that would be bad, Brendan.
Well, bad for Riong. It's true. Oh, forcing the recall out here.
Okay.
Mothership core able to tickle that refinery. able to get just a little bit more action before going home and taking care of the kids.
Now this is really interesting. I haven't quite seen this version. A, with the additional proxy to Starport, but also with pooling Marines at the same time. So I'm guessing he's going to be pressuring the front with Marines and then running in the back behind with these Cloaked Banshees. And correct me if I'm wrong, Brendan, but there's no detection for Deer yet.
Well, he's got that one Oracle, but outside of that, you know,
Yep.
if Ryung just splits up his two Banshees and Deer doesn't have enough energy on the Oracle, then he might be in trouble. But you can see that Deer actually didn't even send that Oracle back, or rather to the base of Ryung. He's just keeping it in his own base for defense.
Yeah, so Deer has to know by now that not seeing an expansion means that bad things are on the way. Ryung is hard one-basing it right now. He's, how many bases does it take to win for Riong? Well, he tried 3 a couple times, and that was too high a number. He tried 2, and that actually worked out. So now he's like, okay, well, less bases, I win more. And so he's just like, okay, well, 1 is all I need. So this is going to be a crazy good opportunity to come in there. Goes for 1 Banshee early instead of pooling the 2. That was a little bit confusing.
I thought maybe he would try to split them up, you know, come in at the same time, wait for that cloak to work dividends for him, but not really able to do so. He still has a very strong push here, and a mainly Phoenix army out of Deer is not going to have a good time against that many Marines. So trying to set up a defense here. The tank is going to be very, very key in this push, and you can see trying to come forward is Deer. He wants to take out that tank, but not quite able to. So a really good position here for Young, able to even repair that tank with the 3 SCVs that he brought.
Yeah, this is quite the hard push. Now, I mean, it's not hard as in he's building supply depots and turrets, but right as I say that, the turret comes down. All right,
where's the bunker?
We're going for it. He does need maybe bunkers, supply depots, just stuff to stay in front. This is a great position to be in, but I think Deer might have just saved barely enough.
Doing a nice bit of poke damage onto that Banshee, and even making a Void Ray here.
I love the Void Ray, Brendan. That is so cool. It's just like really a great reaction to saying, well, he's going to push in, or I will need to eventually, deal with him, shoving his forces down into my natural Void Ray. Great to do that. Micro onto the high ground, stuff like that. But this push is very, very difficult. 3 tanks already, Brendan.
Looks like Deer's just going to give up his natural. He wants to wait until he has more units out here to deal with this push. He knows that Ryung must be on 1 base with a push this strong at this timing. So here he does come, pushing on forward, trying to get the lifts here on the tanks in the backline, and he does do that, but the Void Ray will go down. That bunker working dividends here.
Oh, I don't think Deer has enough. The tank's back down on the low ground. Only probes here in the natural, and that's it. GG. Ryung takes game number 4. It pushes us all the way to a game 5.
Sad Deer in the booth with the pouty lower lip. But you weren't joking, Rapid. I mean, the less spaces that Ryung makes.
I'm just saying, the math doesn't lie, Brendan. I didn't go to 12 years of postgraduate mathematics to not be able to tell cool mathematical trends like that. It's like, okay, the bases number goes down, the wins go up. That's what we call an inverse relationship, Brendan.
There you go. So
somewhere.
Now we're going into Frost.
Okay.
So this was Ryung's pick. I think he picked it second from the maps that he wanted to actually see. So Deer didn't pick it at all, which is why we do see it at 5th place here. And this is very interesting to me because as we're talking about, Ryung going for these more aggressive style plays, now we're going into a 4-player map where he won't necessarily be afforded that opportunity. So Deer's been looking good in the macro games. Ryung, he seemingly wanted to play the macro game, but it hasn't been working out. Is he going to try to do something crazy on Frost on the 4-player map, or are we going to get to see him try one last time here to take out Deer in a big macro game?
Well, if it were possible for Ryung to build 0 bases, I think this might be the one. In fact, if you could still float bases to the gold, I think that might be what we're in for here. But yeah, Ryung has taken us all the way to the rubber match. It's the final game of this best-of-5 series. One of these players will advance with his first series win in the SSL Challenge Stage 2. Who is it going to be?
Fly better fly, Jennair. No Jennair players here in SSL Challenge yet. But up here in the top left, the yellow Protoss, it is Deer.
Indeed it is. His opponent in the Terran colors as the blue player.
Whoa.
He is TES Gaming's Riong. And here we are on Frost. Big map. Big possibilities.
Yeah, the world is their oyster, Rapid.
As they say, Brendan.
Yeah.
Why is the world being somebody's oyster
I have no idea,
an analogy? If somebody could like tweet at Brendan or I, at Rapid Casting or at Brendan Valdez, and tell me why the world being your oyster means that you have endless possibilities ahead of you. I don't know about that one, man.
Yeah, I actually want to know that. I actually am legitimately curious about this. Look at this, though. Deer going for the early scout again, and he gets the lucky one and sees the CC first out of Riong. This is not a good start for our turn buddy here.
As Jar Jar Binks would say, this would be bad bombing, man.
Whoa.
That's the last time I'll ever use that as a reference, so.
It's okay. I enjoyed it while it lasted.
I just like to quote Sith Lords from time to time, Brendan.
Sith Lords.
Yeah.
Jar Jar Binks.
No, I read that theory.
Oh yeah.
It was about as compelling as all those Game of Thrones theories that are out there, which never really swayed me that much. I think the new season comes out in like a month or so.
I think it's July. They're working on a bunch of like offshoots and like prequels and stuff. So.
Can we not just have faster seasons? That's all I want. I'm a simple man, Brendan.
I just want to get the main story on the road. You know, I'm curious about that other stuff, but you know, I like the main story too. So I'm gonna keep this up here with 3 barracks on the way. Just wants to play it pretty safe afterwards, and it makes sense, you know, especially because Deer did get the early scout. Just wants to make sure that no shenanigans are happening because Ryung hasn't really got a scout of what Deer wants to do. And as I say that, for the first time here, Deer is not going to go Stargate first as his higher tech. He will add a Twilight Council.
Yeah, okay, so I'm guessing either Blinkstalker's on the way. We'll see what's coming up here. This is a little bit different for Deer. Mixing it up a little bit. Ryung has mixed it up by not building a 3rd command center and by, well, also building another one. So going back to just 2-basing it, I think this is probably where Ryung feels a little bit more comfortable. Maybe ideally he could actually play that macro style for once on this bigger map. But it'll be interesting to see how what he's going for here. I think that Mass Widow Mine style might be good, but it doesn't look like that's in the cards.
Yeah, and it looks like you called it here, Rapid. He is going for Blink very fast. So I was thinking with that Robo follow-up very fast, perhaps the DTs, but no gas is taken there at the natural. Just wants to put on some pressure. Might even be 4-gate Blink. We'll see what he wants to do. He's beginning to add some gases now. A little bit later, just 1 here at the natural. Me and the Observer on point today.
Yeah, man.
Looking at the same things.
You guys are right in sync, on top of everything. Observer coming out. This is a super safe build for Deer. Very, very versatile. You can do a whole bunch of stuff with Blinkstalker. You can do a whole bunch of scouting with observers. You can just really kind of feel your way around this map, and a 3rd base coming down at the same time. Deer's just in a pretty good spot. So as long as there's no proxy that's been pooling units this entire time that's going to come in and bust him, Deer's in a great spot, and Ryung did not take a 3rd command center. In fact, he's going for a bunker right now just to make sure he doesn't die.
I think it's a great read by Deer, and I think that SCV from Ryung did not scout the 4th gas not being taken here by Deer. So Ryung playing extremely defensive, whereas Deer getting that, you know, greedy blink tech out, that defensive, just like, okay, I'm getting a third base extremely early. I don't have any pressure because I didn't go oracles, and I'm just going to sit back and tech up as much as possible. Forge on the way. He can put a slight pressure on against Ryung, but on a big map like this, I love where Deer is taking this game. He's like, I've done very, very well on big maps and macro games. If I can just deal with the drops, and I know Ryung is going to play pretty passive after this build that he went for, then I really like Deer's chances here, and I love the build that he picked.
Observer showing that Deer's Observer was picked off, so good job there by Riong to at least limit that scouting information. It does look like we're going into at least the mid-game. Riong really gearing up for this 2-base big bad bio ball. That's my consonants for the day.
Quadruple B. Please no one use that as the name for this build.
I don't know. I'm still trying to get used to, like, there's this new shoe brand that has 3 B's in the name of it.
Really?
Yeah. Big baller brand, man.
Oh boy.
Yeah, not very, very small fan, microscopic fan even. But when it comes to StarCraft, I'm adding
Hashtag not a fan. How about that?
And then it's just a very small one. See, you know, I was, raised the same way as Andre the Giant and Thumper to, think that if you can't say anything nice, you probably shouldn't say anything at all. So instead of saying, no fans, I just limit the size of my fan. Got to keep it positive, Brendan.
You get one of those tiny fans that people use here in Seoul that's battery powered, and it's just used to only heat, or rather cool, the front of your face. Yeah. It's actually quite nice. Very refreshing.
Actually, I had one of those that in the blades of the fan, they had like, okay, where are you guys going? That is, those are not the bio balls you're looking for, Protoss Stalkers, who also have Blink, but didn't use any of that.
Yeah. Just getting picked off there. Kind of an unfortunate position.
Indeed. Much like ripened apples on a tree, Brendan.
Getting picked off?
Indeed.
Wouldn't they just be picked?
Well, you're picking them off the tree, right?
I don't know. I'm not convinced, Rabin. You'll have to show me the Wikipedia page.
Well, one of us has worked years on an apple farm, Brennan, so we're just...
Fair enough.
It's not me. How many
Guess
pylons?
It must be me then, Rabin. I don't know. I don't remember.
Somewhere
those
out there, there's a StarCraft fan that has also worked years on an apple farm that knows exactly whether or not apples are picked or picked off. And he just picked today to watch this. Or did he pick off today to watch this? I don't know.
I don't know where we're going with
I'm taking this a little bit too far. All right, so basically, Ryung has decided that 2 is the right number for bases. He tried 1, he tried 3, and 2's the sweet spot. So here we go. He's going out for his first big push, but I don't know. He's just started more upgrades generally. Oh, wow. If that Shade completes, that is not going to be good.
Oh,
whew,
I thought he was going to do it.
Yeah, me too. This is like all those movies where the bad guy and the good guy point the gun at each other, and it's like a game of chicken for, who lowers their weapon first.
It was weird because he almost was playing that game of chicken with Ryung. He's like, yeah, you want to fight? You want to fight? Let's actually fight. And then he didn't actually fight, but he actually bought himself some time to get some more warp-ins here. But Ryung, as you said, a very extremely powerful push off 2 bases coming, but he sees the army of deer, and he actually doesn't feel confident enough to take the fight. He's going to go back home and regroup.
Yeah. That would have actually been a decent time. I mean, the Pylon's Immortal and +2 weapon upgrade, none of that would have mattered at all for Deer. But now, whoa, okay. It's first Stalkers, then a loaded Warp Prism. What will be the next thing to get?
I think there were actually Stalkers in that Warp Prism too, which is weirder.
Even more Stalkers getting taken out. You could even drop the Stalkers, then blink them away and still save them, but no. Deer losing a lot of the units a little bit carelessly. Maybe the time, it is pretty late here. It's about 11 p.m. in Korea. Taking its toll, setting up these liberation zones, but deciding to unsiege and back off. A little bit. Like as he just moves back one pixel and resieges up again. All right, will we see this completion? It looks like, yes, the Adepts are going to go in, blink in to try to take out these Liberators. They will all get picked off, and it looks like this bio ball from Ryung will get eliminated.
Oh, man. A big chunk of those Adepts were picked off by the Widow Mines, but just the way that Deer was able to come on in there, kind of funny that there was one left.
He warping right on top of the Widow Mine field. Great job there. But even still, Deer's army rolling over Ryung's forces.
And that's going to be it. He takes out the entire army. Deer keeps enough alive, and GG. Deer will take the 3-2 here at SSL Classic. Or Challenge, wow, even I'm doing it now. He's keeping his hopes alive. He's not out of this one yet. He still has a chance to make it into 4th place and get into the fast lane.
Well, that is Deer's first best of 5 victory of Stage 2 of the SSL. Pretty impressively done, still a narrow series. I think we saw pretty much what we expected from both players. Ryung winning with shorter games, Deer having very strong macro, and inevitably that is what pays off. Yeah,
and you could see in that 3rd game where Deer, he identified what was happening very early on, and he got a very greedy early 3rd base with the blink, and with the map that big, Ryung, he had a timing coming, but it was like 2 minutes late. So
whoops.
I feel like, again, Deer, he just showed that he was playing better games and macro games. He understood the timings a little bit better. He was able to cut more corners and get further ahead. So definitely deserving to take that win. Kind of unfortunate for Ryung that now he's 0-3, and I think that kind of takes away his chances.
Yeah, I think that eliminates him from advancing on to the next stage, unfortunately. So probably won't be seeing more of Ryung. He's still going to be playing his matches in Stage 2, but will not be making it on to the next round. But that's going to do it for our first series of the night. Coming up next, it's TY versus Beyond, so don't go anywhere.
Things turn, send a prayer to the ones up above. All the hate that you've